Star Citizen's massive fan event CitizenCon took place over a week ago, and only now do I feel like I'm starting to settle in with all the reveals, release dates, and subsequent drama that has ensued. As someone who has been following this project since 2012, I have over a decade's worth of excitement, disappointment, extreme feelings of certainty, and doubt, all mixed together in a long roller coaster ride of fandom. Today, I guess that makes me more of a grizzled fanboy. Harder to surprise or excite, but still eagerly awaiting new features and announcements. And one of the more talked about presentations from the entire CitizenCon show was the Squadron 42 gameplay demo. As a prologue showcase, it was somewhat criticized for its lack of, well, gameplay with a heavy focus on cinematics. Potentially not everyone's cup of tea, but it certainly was mine. Sure, I may have cut some of the cinematics a bit shorter for pacing, but I truly loved every minute of what I watched. Aside from the crashes when they did it live, that is. And it was the first bit of Star Citizen media in quite a while that I felt really excited to share with friends who were maybe not so closely following the project. In fact, so many people are still only aware of Star Citizen from the negative headlines that pop up from time to time that's made it so well known over the years. And being able to throw that trailer over to someone who's never seen anything about Star Citizen and watch them do a double take and go, wait, is this the game that's supposed to be fake? Is satisfying to watch. The quality of the presentation is just simply stunning. It reminds me of when Ubisoft called Skull and Bones a quadruple A game, exceeding the bounds of what AAA stood for. And naturally everyone mocked them for it, and rightly so. But now, having watched Squadron 42's gameplay demo 3 times, it truly does stand out as some of the most impressive visuals and scope that I've seen from any project. Made even more impressive by my knowledge that all the ships shown in this demo are fully modeled and detailed from inside to out. Now, since CitizenCon, I've also more or less come to terms with the gut punch that was the 2026 release date for Squadron. I'm not happy about it, nobody is, and frankly it makes me wonder if they'll even be able to hit that release date. But I've played very little Star Citizen so far this year, so it hasn't really been a main source of entertainment for me. So really I've just settled back into my waiting mindset, which isn't any different from how it's been all year. That said, the recent con has clearly inspired the next wave of fans to get all hyped over the promised content and features. CIG's funding goals don't seem to be slowing down, so hopefully that means they have what it takes to push Squadron 42 over the finish line. Now, I will say it's been interesting to follow along with the community regarding the concerns based on announcements from CitizenCon. The long-awaited clarification on how ship insurance was going to work was unfortunately poorly explained during the show, leading to a frenzy of questions and explanations that explained some things and made it confusing for others. We literally have an insurance flowchart made by the community now to help people understand how it's actually going to work. It's like real life insurance. You have to study it just to know if you're even covered and under what circumstances. One of the upsides when it comes to the whole insurance system and how ship tiers are going to work is that it does soften some of the pay to win elements. Certainly not completely, but restricting people who buy ships to the lowest levels of warranties and the lowest tiers of ships really helps. Thus, if you grind and get a better version of that ship with better components and you pay for a better warranty in-game, which is the only way to get a better warranty, you have something better than what can be bought with cash. So it seems like there's going to be a big incentive to continue to grind and improve your ship versus just being able to pay for all the best stuff and get that forever. Now, another huge moment during CitizenCon is when CIG defined what the 1.0 release for Star Citizen would be, and it meant that the game would only have 5 systems versus the original 100 systems that were promised during the initial crowdfunding campaign. And surprisingly, there was very little complaints about this, since many players I think know that it wasn't in fact a downgrade from the original promise. With those original 100 systems only having planets that had landing zones and not being fully explorable, it seemed like a much shallower promise than 5 systems with completely explorable planets and much more depth. And it seems like the community is pretty much in full understanding that 100 systems with the depth that, say, Stanton has right now is virtually unachievable, at least in a short period of time. Now, what did get CIG some flack were the features that got left out of this 1.0 roadmap. MPC Crew are not going to be a part of the 1.0 release. This would be the ability to hire NPCs to crew your ship and perform the crew member roles. And frankly, it seems like MPC Crew could be one of the biggest challenges for CIG outside of the, say, dynamic server meshing. And I personally have my doubts that they will ever be able to achieve MPC Crew in the way that we imagine it. But the reason why this feature getting delayed is a pretty big deal is that NPC Crew have been promised for a long time, and many players signed up and bought massive ships with the understanding that one day they could hire an NPC Crew to help them operate the large vessels if they wanted to fly solo or even with a small crew. And for those players, it seems like that dream could still be a long ways off. And like I said, I have my doubts that they can ever even properly achieve this. I think they may have to come up with some hacky ways of doing this, like floating robot crew that just appear where they're needed and perform a role and then disappear, versus tens of NPCs pathfinding their way around your ship while it's also in a giant multiplayer battle. Even if they get the tech working, it seems prohibitively expensive just on the server side costs alone. That is a lot of AI throughput to add on top of the additional load. Now that said, at least blades are still on the roadmap for 1.0, which will allow you to have kind of simpler AI options on your ship that can do things like auto-man turrets for you and perform simpler tasks. Now, after the extremely impressive base building presentation where CIG showed off not only massive structures that players can build all over a solar system, but that they'll also include storefronts that other players can buy from, owners of the long-awaited Banu Merchantman capital class trading vessel pointed out that it kind of invalidated their ship's purpose of being a traveling trader ship with storefronts built into the vessel itself. This may even affect other large concept ships like, say, the Kraken that has a storefront variant. Other members of the community were quick to point out that the original idea for the Merchantman was mostly just a heavily armored cargo transport with some fun alien stylings, and that the whole shop side of this ship was actually conceived later. Regardless though, CIG has integrated a lot of advertised gameplay ideas to sell some pretty big ships that may get completely undermined by the plans for the base building and storefronts and other elements of the game. It's unclear how CIG is going to handle these situations down the road, and frankly we may have to wait quite a while to see, because it seems like neither the Merchantman nor storefronts are coming to the game anytime soon. CIG then fumbled again when one of their primary shipbuilders took to the Spectrum forums to tell fans that another one of the concept ships, the RSI Galaxy, would in fact not have its base building component. And with that being the primary reason that fans bought the ship in the first place, there was, of course, outrage from many, which was later quelled by a corrected statement that base building would actually be coming to the ship, but might be in a later variant while they try and figure out how to fit drones into it. Which once again reminds us that funding a game with elaborate ship concepts before the game even has a gameplay loop for those ship concepts has led to endless drama and walking back features and trying to shoehorn things together, like a reclaimer claw that is now a giant beam weapon. And I doubt that this is the last we'll see of ship downgrades as the reality of Star Citizen starts to sink in. Now, post CitizenCon, CIG has continued to run Evocati tests on Pyro and the new jump points connecting Pyro to the current Stanton system. Once again, Pyro will be the second system added to the game once they can get this patched worked out, and clearly the goal is to get Pyro into the game as quickly as possible since it is long overdue and it is a a major blocker for all future expansions and for the general scope of the game. So far, things seem quite buggy. While the jump points do work for a lot of people, they don't work for others, and they do work and then bug out, and all kinds of fun stuff happening during the tests. And I'd imagine that when this patch deploys, the game stability is going to get worse before it gets better. Yesterday, CIG released their roadmap roundup, which updated the release schedule for the 4.0 patch, aka the Pyro patch, and it more or less got gutted, with the devs removing engineering, life support, fire extinguishers, a much needed transit system refactor to maybe save us from those dreaded elevators one day. Basically, 4.0 is going to be a meshed Pyro system with those other features coming hopefully soon after. Fans are naturally upset since these systems had a lot of gameplay components that we've been waiting for a long time. So in the near future, we have a buggy Pyro and server meshed environment universe to look forward to. The International Aerospace Expo is coming up, which will be a big ship sale event, and it's going to be adding some big ships to the game, which should be fun to look at just because of how much detail and artistry goes into each one of those. I will of course be following all the news and info as it drops, and anything big, you'll find a video about it over here on this channel. I'd be curious to know how you're feeling about the current state of Star Citizen right after CitizenCon, especially if you've been a longtime fan. Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Next up, check out my CitizenCon 2024 breakdown, where I take 14-ish hours of content and turn it into a hopefully digestible video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.